There's no secret.
All right, we'll play a game, man.
So they drill holes into his Les Paul.
How is that even possible?
I think it was a big melting pot in the 80s.
What is the secret?
I think basically Saxon and Maiden.
Did you contact Alice Cooper and say, hey, Alice?
I just think he thinks now's a good time to retire.
Hello, you Metal Pilgrims, and welcome to the new interview episode on the show. And today I'm honored to welcome a legend, the voice of the mighty Saxon, Biff Byford. Biff, thank you so much for finding time and joining me today. How are you, man?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, I've got a bit of COVID at the moment, but I'm on the end of it now. So yeah, I'm doing okay today.
Yeah, man, just heard about that. Well, just wanted to let you know that we're all with you, man. We wish you all the best so you can, get back on your feet right away.
Yeah.
Just
hopefully,
know that your fans are all with you, man. So, Biff, let's just jump right into it. There are quite a couple of news around Saxon these days, with the biggest one possibly being the release of your new album, More Inspirations, which will be out in just a couple of days, and on which you once again covered, what I assume are the most influential songs for you personally. So how did you guys, as a band, agree on which songs to cover? Because you did cover a rather surprising set of songs and some of the deep cuts for some of the artists.
Yeah, I mean, I made a list and sent it to the guys, and they put a few songs on the list and sent it back. But yeah, I mean, we pretty talked about it, but most of the choices that I put on the list, the guys loved anyway. So each song is connected to Saxon in some way, whether it be the band or individual members. Then these Inspirations albums aren't just covers albums. The songs are connected in some way to our when we were teenagers, or when we were playing in bands around. A lot of the songs inspired us and influenced us, in the style that we play.
Yeah, and I was actually already able to listen to the record, and what surprised me the most is how you guys were able to make each of the tracks sound unmistakably Saxon-like, and especially with some which are rather hard to do so with. For example, Kiss's Detroit Rock City. I mean, it's such a Kiss song, everyone knows as a Kiss song, but you still, even with this one, you were actually able to make it sound like a Saxon song, which I think is absolutely amazing. So
yeah, it's I mean, Kiss is difficult, but then I said they're difficult. They're not as easy as the Kiss stuff's not as easy as it seems to do. So we took a bit of time on Kiss to make it sound like it does. But Nigel was the big Kiss fan in the band. He was in the Kiss army in the 70s. So, we suggested that song to him. And it is my favorite Kiss song. But I wasn't really a massive Kiss fan, but I do like the band. Yeah.
Did you contact any of your fellow artists when choosing which songs to cover? Like, for example, did you contact Alice Cooper and say, hey, Alice, we're going to be doing this song?
No. I mean, no, I didn't actually. No, I didn't talk to her. I could have done, but I thought, no. Somebody might have said no. I mean, I did talk to Alice. in COVID, but we hadn't decided to do the album then. But I've always had an inkling, to do a covers album and to have an Alice Cooper song on there, because lyrically is quite influential for me.
And do you think there are more inspirations coming sometime in the future? Because I mean, you guys seem to love it, because you guys did an amazing job with the album number 1 and number 2.
Well, again, it's all about connections and what influenced us and inspired us when we were teenagers, So it's always on the cards. There's nothing planned. We do have a few tracks around that we tried that we didn't take on to fruition, if you know what I mean. Like the Jethro Tull track, there was a Sex Pistols track, and there's a few other things we tried that didn't quite work out on the day. But whether there'll be a third Inspirations, I don't know. We'll see.
And among the other, this time, I guess, a bit more sad news for, many fans is, of course, the fact that Paul Quinn has just stepped back from touring with Saxon, just like Glenn Tipton did with Judas Priest, still remaining in the band. And, I wouldn't say that it was, exactly a shock for many fans, but still, Paul is such an important and essential part of, Saxon. So do you guys have any definitive plans on what you're going to do after that, and, which lineup you're going to go on the road with?
Well, the thing is with Paul, we've had discussions with Paul before over the last few years about him retiring. It's not a surprise. So, it was always on the card that Paul would probably retire from touring. And it's quite a lot of pressure. And, the band are getting bigger, playing bigger venues, with more touring. So I just think he thinks now's a good time to retire. He's going to stay with us till the end of the year. And he's going to be doing the new Saxon album. Mm-hmm. So, he is still there, basically, but he just won't be doing the touring. So as far as a replacement, we're probably going to use somebody from the 80s who plays in that style, mm-hmm. that has that people know.
Have you had a chance to, speak to anybody yet already?
Yeah, but I'm not telling you. So you'll have to guess. You'll have to guess.
All right, we'll play a game then. So do you have any, specific plans for, the rescheduled dates on the remainder of the tour yet?
No, nothing yet. No, there's only 4 shows left. And obviously South America, we postponed as well. Now, obviously that's not because of COVID, but because of, my family. I have there's a lot of illness in my family. My father-in-law just died, and my wife has to have a serious operation, so I can't really go to South America at the moment. I have to be at home. So so just general thing really. But we will be out. We'll be out in I think July. We'll start doing festivals, so that'll be the next time the band are out live, I think.
That's good. Well, we're sorry to hear about the problems you have in the family, and hopefully everything will work out.
Hopefully, yeah.
Also, in just a couple of days, your 5th studio album, Power and the Glory, will be celebrating its 40th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so, somebody told me that, yeah.
So do you guys have any plans to celebrate that with the fans, maybe on the road, and reflect it in the tour list, in the set list?
Sometimes we do. We've been doing, Sacrifice had a 20th anniversary, a Sacrifice album while we were out there. So we stuck Sacrifice in the set list. Power and the Glory is already in the set list, luckily. But yeah, there's a few songs in Power and the Glory we could do that are quite popular. Redline, Power and the Glory itself. So yeah, we could do. If people are interested in it, yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
I personally think it is one of those albums which has aged extremely well, right? I mean, I know that some fans had mixed feelings about it back in the 80s even, but right now it is considered one of the classic albums and one of the milestones for heavy metal of the 1980s, which I personally love that album. I'll be honest with you. So if you asked me, I'd love to hear some of the deep cuts from this record rather than even the most popular songs which you have played before.
Yeah, I mean, there are some great songs on Power and the Glory, and particular in America, one of our biggest albums in America, Power and the Glory, that one Crusader. So yeah, we do play quite a few songs of Power and the Glory, but we tend not to play them all at the same time. They enter set lists and they leave set lists. We have such a catalogue now that it's very difficult to put something in off every album, because people still want those 80s hits all the time as well. And we have got a young following as well now, so those guys want to hear the big hits as well now. So I think we've always got to have the 5 or 6 big 80s hits in the set list. But we play for 2 hours anyway, so there's plenty of time to put different songs in. But I agree with you, Power and the Glory is a great album. Yeah.
And talking about rocking out on stage for more than 2 hours every night, one of the questions which many fans wanted to know the answer to is, how do you keep your voice in such a great shape? How is that even possible? What do you do? What is the secret?
There's no secret. There's no secret. Just you know, if you can, if you can talk, you can sing. Basically, that's how it works. And yeah, you have to learn. You have to learn to. You have to be you have to be aware of your voice and everything that works on your voice. You have to be aware of that. And you know, when you've been singing a long time like I have, I know when I'm pushing too far, when I can push to the farthest. So I just think you have to be aware. It's a bit like playing guitar, really. You know, it's like, you know, the guy's fingers get sore, your arms get sore, your elbows get sore, and they know when to go for it, when to ease back. So I think it's a matter of pacing your power, really. I think that's the secret. But there isn't any miracle thing you can do to make your voice great. It's either great or it's not, you know.
Are there any vocalists in the world of heavy metal whom you still look up to and whom you consider, you know, your personal, I don't know, vocal idols?
Oh, I like them all, really. All vocalists that were, you know, that I listened to and, you know, were around at the same time as me. I like them all. You know, I like Bruce Dickinson. I like, you know, still singing great. You know, Alfred still singing great. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are still singing great. And even if they're not singing great, they're still singing. So, you know, hey, you know, people want to go see them. I mean, obviously, people aren't going to be as amazing at 70 years old than they were when they were like, you know, 19 or something. But you learn a lot over the years. So sometimes things become better. I'm able to control my voice now. You can, you know, always, you know, my voice was all over the place back in the day, but now it's very controllable. So it's a lot better.
And you spoke about looking into the future and how you have a great new following, which I totally agree with you. I think that Saxon is actually much more on the map right now than it has ever been. And it is amazing. This is the way it should be. And it is very well deserved. So talking about, you know, looking into the future, how far into the new album you are with Saxon, and will we get to hear it in 2024, and what will it sound like?
Well, we're just demoing the tracks at the moment. It'll sound fantastic, you know, what can I say? But we're demoing tracks at the moment. We're just working on the music. You know, I'm sort of I'm asking the guys to, you know, push themselves and come up with some great riffs and things, and that's what we're doing, really. So we're just sort of putting the music together now. It'll be, you know, maybe a couple of weeks before I start singing on the demos, and then once that's done, it's pretty straightforward. Then, you know, the recording process is pretty straightforward. You know, there's no surprises. We know what we're doing.
Yeah. And do you think it will be one of the classic sounding Saxon albums, or are you going to experiment a little bit with the sound at this point?
It'll be like Carpe Diem, you know, and Thunderbolt. It'll be a great Saxon album, you know, unpredictable. It wasn't big.
That's great. And what about your solo record? How is that going? And when we'll get to hear that?
Yeah, I haven't really. I've got a few ideas, but nothing massive at the moment. I mean, I've been working with my son on a new Heavy Water album, so that might be out this year. That should be good.
That's great. That's great. That one is done already, I assume?
I've just got a couple more vocals to do on it, a few harmonies to sing with him, and then that's finished. So that'll go off to be mixed, and that should be coming out, I don't know, Christmas time, something like that. I don't know.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And talking about writing new music, I think it's no secret, and you spoke about that before quite a lot, that you are, you know, a fan of history, and you of course incorporate, you know, some historical events into your lyrics quite oftenly. So these days, after so many years of, you know, rocking the world, where do you still dig for inspiration? Do you try to concentrate on the historic events or something that is very important for you emotionally?
I think more both, really. I think history, history can be quite emotional as well. But I do dip into the history pot quite a lot because it interests me, and it's a good, heavy metal music's a good vehicle for lyrics about age of steam and the polar ice caps. It's just my imagination is quite it's quite on all the time. I'm turned on all the time. I'm looking and thinking and all the time that I'm sort of living and breathing. I'm sort of ideas coming into my head. So I use that for lyrics. I don't really have any inhibitions of what to write about. You know what I mean? We do a lot of songs about the common soldier. There's the way that he's treated, and there's a few. We have I think basically Saxon and Maiden are the bands that write about history, sci-fi. We tend to write about things that other bands don't really touch. You know what I mean? We don't really write rock and roll songs anymore, if you know what I'm saying. Although we do write about speed and motorcycle things, because I'm still interested in that. So whatever comes into my head, really, I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
And talking about Maiden, Judas Priest, Sabbath, Saxon, and all the other amazing heavy metal bands which came out of the United Kingdom back in the day, how much did you look up to and after the other bands? How close were you at that time, and did you bounce any ideas of each other back in the day?
Well, not so much Maiden, because their albums didn't come out until 80. So we wouldn't really. We played with Maiden quite a bit in the early days in universities and clubs. We did do a few shows together. Judas Priest probably more influenced us because they were around, 10 years before we even got a deal. So, definitely we could definitely do a Judas Priest song on one of our inspirations albums if we ever do another one. But talking about Maiden and Def Leppard and bands like that, they were, we're from I think maybe Leppard younger because they were younger when they started. So musically, we're from the same generation, I think.
You are the founders of British heavy metal, the co-founders.
Yeah, all those bands were, and Priest were around, and Motorhead as well. But they were all making music and making albums before we were, if you know what I'm saying. So, we did a Motorhead album on the last Inspirations because we toured with them in '79. They were a big inspiration to us, so that's why they were on the album. So yeah, I think it was a big melting pot in the 80s of different bands, and obviously the Maiden we played was with Paul Yano, the first album.
Well, man, I can keep you here forever, talking about the history of heavy metal, but I think there is a time limit to these things, at least so people tell me. So in order to close the episode, can you share with us just one crazy story which happened to you on the road with Saxon, either back in the day or, in one of the recent tours?
A true story. We went to Venezuela and one of the tours we did, and Mr. Quinn, one of his guitar techs, guitarists will know what I'm talking about, but the tremolo arm on his Les Paul axis, I think, wasn't working very well. He put a block of wood inside it to stop it going backwards, so it stayed in tune. And when we came out of Venezuela, they put the guitars through the X-ray, and they thought the block of wood was cocaine. Yeah, they thought he was smuggling cocaine. So they drilled holes into his Les Paul, really right into the body to see if there was any white powder on the end of it. So so that was a crazy story. And Paul had them filled, and I said, you should have left the holes in it. It's all part of the history of the guitar. But he filled them up and had it painted. But So that's a funny story, you know, that they were drilling holes in the guitar around the back and they thought they'd got us. We've got them. A bit like strong arm of the law, yeah. So yeah, but it was just a block of wood that Paul had put in there to stop the criminal arm, you know, being loose, basically. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. And well, hearing those stories just make me really want to guys see you live once again. And hopefully on one of your future tours, you will make it to Ukraine. We have a little problem we have to deal here with, but hopefully afterwards.
Yeah, you have a couple of problems that you got to deal with. Yeah, I mean, once you've dealt with that, then we'll be there.
Thank you so much, Biff. Any last message for the fans? Anything you want to share with them, both old and new?
Yeah, you know, thanks for buying the albums and staying with the band. And, you know, you're all having a rough time over there. We know that. And just keep the faith and, you know, we'll see you as soon as we possibly can, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Biff. On behalf of all Ukrainian metalheads, thank you for your support. And on behalf of all the Metal Pilgrims, thank you so much for joining us today. That was Biff Byford of the mighty Saxon, ladies and gentlemen. Biff, thank you so much for joining me today. Keep rocking, man.
See you later. Bye.